Hello, everyone. Welcome into Zelda Speedruns today. We have the grand finals of the Tears of the Kingdom Any Percent Tournament 2023 between RedSlay and Gymnast. This is going to be a best of three, so we're going to have all three races back to back to back. So stay tuned for the next 2 to 3 hours. Here on commentary is Clouded and Sirius, who I'm going to hand it over to. Enjoy the race, everyone.
Yes, hello everyone. I am Lovely Sirius. I'm an any percent runner for this game.
Hey everybody, it's me, Clouded.
You guys enjoy
Can you guys hear me okay?
watching the restream.
Alright, so yeah, this is the grand finals of this tournament, and just to provide some context for how we got here, because a couple races were not restreamed, to get here, Gymnast had to go through a bracket of beating me and beating Sledgen, who is a 1.1.2 runner. Both of those he 2-0'd, so very dominant. And then RedSlay to get here had to go through Jin Young, who is a top 20 runner, and Kintiko, who is a top 10 runner, to get to the grand finals here.
So yeah, both of these runners, they definitely deserve their place in the finals. I think none of us are surprised to see any of these two here, considering both of them are also former world record holders in Tears of the Kingdom Any Percent. Gymnast with a whopping 12 former world records in this category, and RedSlay with 3, his most recent coming just last week. And he is currently sitting in second place on the leaderboard. He's been very aggressive, going for a lot of the more risky strats. Basically, he's basically been going for a PB the whole time, so we can expect to see more of that from him here today.
Yeah, RedSlay has had, I think, 2 of the 3 best performances in these races during the tournament. He's gone 243s, I believe.
Indeed.
So just
one of his matches last week against Kentiko, he ended up only about 30 seconds behind his PB, which is pretty insane for a no reset live run in a race.
Yeah, especially considering how good his PB is. Like what, around 10 seconds off world record? Like,
absolutely wild. And RedSlay's runs will feature some of the quote-unquote new tech, new because it's been around for a while, but it was only recently implemented in the route, Arrow Smuggle Flight, which if you haven't seen before is definitely a treat, which we will explain for you along the way. Looks like our runners are queuing up to start the first match here, showing version number and starting from fresh boot to comply with leaderboard rules.
As we just in case they countdown. PB, gotta make sure they show the version to upload the PB.
Exactly.
But yeah, so this race will be really interesting because, as we said, RedSlay basically been going for a PB this entire tournament, and Gymnast opting more for consistency, going for a little bit easier, a little bit outdated strats that are a little bit slower, but way easier to hit every time. So it'll ultimately be a battle of consistency versus speed. If RedSlay makes a few mistakes, then he might lose an entire minute if he dies doing an arrow flight. Like, it's very easy to lose time on his route, whereas Gymnast doesn't have that major time loss potential if he does make a mistake.
Exactly, and you will see opportunities for runners to kind of opt for more riskier or safer strats, and it'll be interesting to see who picks what and where they are in the race. As we are officially off, both of our runners loading into the intro sequence, we're going to see them both attempt to do the intro clip, where we climb up the stalactite and perform a very precise jump to clip out of bounds through the wall, allowing us to skip many of the long Zelda cutscenes. We love our girl, but sometimes she just needs to keep her mouth shut a little bit so we can get to the end of the game faster.
Yeah.
As we see RedSlay lining up here, gets the clip first try, very clean.
She got a lot of text in this intro.
Indeed. Gymnast a little bit of a slower setup. Doesn't get the first clip. We'll see how he gets his attempt on the second try. As we can see, RedSlay already making his way through the tunnel.
Yeah, RedSlay already pretty much passed all the hard stuff. Just has to do a few more Mazdors to get to the end as Gymnast gets the clip. And hits the cutscene trigger. That's the hard part of the intro, is that cutscene trigger that he tried to jump over, barely hitting it. Unfortunately, major time loss because it will pull you back in bounds, so he's going to have to run backwards and try to clip again now.
Yeah, interesting enough, if you do hit that second cutscene trigger, it still actually is faster to run back up the stairs and reattempt an out-of-bounds clip rather than just give up and run through all the Zelda dialogue. So we'll see him attempt to do that a second time. In my opinion, that second jump there is actually a little bit harder, I would say, than getting the setup for the initial clip. So definitely no shame, no foul there to Gymnast missing that. It's not an easy trick by any means.
Yeah. And getting the clip can also be quite finicky because, like, the way Link moves, it's not very easy to do these, like, little tiny adjustments to get, like, the pixel that you're looking for. So often, and he gets a soft lock. This is actually a worst case scenario start for Gymnast here. That soft lock happens if you get the clip, but you get the clip in just the wrong spot where you clip out of bounds, but in between the out of bounds area and the inbounds area. So you just get soft lock there and you have to reload.
Very, very unlucky. Link's model is all the way through, but he's not exactly in a space where he can move, so he's just crouched. All you can do is spin around in circles. Very unfortunate. But like we see, Gymnast is consistently, he gets the clip again, and at this point, since he already triggered the cutscene, he can just run straight over and attempt to perform the monster jumps.
I was actually worried because he loaded the save. I thought he was going to load a save where he didn't attempt the first cutscene skip again, and I thought he might have to do it again.
That would have been a bit tragic.
That would have been tragic.
Just on the intro clip sequence alone, we can see RedSlay has already built quite a big lead heading into the everyone's favorite cutscene, the sword that seals the darkness.
Yeah. I'm sure most runners have this cutscene memorized now. Having to hear it 500 plus times.
Maybe some runners in multiple languages. Speaking of languages, interesting how both runners have opted to run with English text. Although it doesn't make too much of a difference, English is actually the 4th fastest language for any percent. We're talking differences of less than a couple seconds here. Russian would be the optimal, followed by French and or Spanish. For a second, so we've seen runners in their PBs maybe switch languages, but English, of course, both of them are on the same language, so there won't be any time difference here, but at least seen friendly days on it.
Yeah, I believe Russian is 1.1 seconds faster.
That's correct.
For any percent. Yeah. So not a major difference regardless, but it's definitely something. If you're going for a PB, you want to get those little bits of time saved, might as well.
Yeah, save those frames anywhere you can. And you know, what's interesting about the route is now that things are somewhat starting to settle a little bit in terms of arrow smuggle is basically becoming a meta. We're starting to see a lot of very more micro optimizations in terms of splits within splits within splits, micro strategies, how to do the most efficient.
A lot more bomb jumps.
Oh yeah, the bomb jumps have definitely been huge.
Like when we want to cut out a running area, just add a bomb jump, add a skew jump, add a ledge bomb. It always works.
Yeah, there's been a lot of the TOTK scientists have been hard at work in the Discord channel and on Twitch to shave off frames wherever we can. There's been a lot of neat optimizations recently in the run. If you've watched some of the top runs recently, you might find that certain strategies are different from even day to day.
Yeah, I saw RedSlay practicing beforehand, and he's doing some strats that I recognized as quite new, that he's already implemented and will probably be going for, so I'll try to point those out as they come.
For sure, it'll be interesting to see as well what strats are adopted, and we'll see if maybe there's any sort of strategic strat choice here in terms of how far ahead or behind they might be, see what they want to do.
That's what I was just about to say, because RedSlay is so far ahead at this point, like maybe he doesn't even go for like wing flip because it's just not worth it. If he fails it loses so much time, and
very true.
He's already so far ahead, like it might not be worth the risk. But knowing him, he probably will go for it because he's very good at wing flip.
Indeed. He's incredibly consistent at some of these very difficult tricks. And Gymnast, as far as I'm aware, does not go for early ascent in his races. So even if RedSlay chooses to skip early ascent, he would still be on par with Gymnast, assuming no other major mistakes. So yeah, I agree. It'll definitely be interesting to see. As RedSlay finally makes his way into the Room of Awakening, waking up on the Great Sky Island, he will be attempting what I consider to be one of, if not the most important tricks in the game, known as cog skip, or cog skip if you're wrong. So we'll see his setup here, looking to get a very fast setup and first try jump here. And he absolutely nails it.
Beautiful. That is looking really, really good for him. An amazing start.
Yeah, for sure. Cog skip is an incredibly precise trick where there's just a tiny enough amount of slope where you can get a very quick speed jump off of that cog, and with a precisely timed jump slash, you get just enough distance to get Link's back foot barely on the ledge of that higher place where we can just completely skip the cog cutscene, opening door cutscene. It's been very interesting how setups have development, and every runner kind of has their own setup as well for a cog skip.
Yeah, if you've seen the recent video that Timber made, I see him in the chat.
Excellent
He
video.
showed off all the top runners and all the different setups, and not a single runner had the same setup for it, which was very interesting.
Very interesting indeed. RedSlay grabbing one of, if not the most vital part of item in the run here, which is the wing chest on top of the Room of Awakening Island. Also going for these tree branches for the Zuggle setup, which we'll see later. Unfortunately, does not grab one there.
Yeah, he didn't
But
get
he will be
any
diving
stick,
there.
did he?
I didn't quite catch. It looked like he did miss the first one as well. Those branches, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, are a 60% chance.
Yeah, I've heard 60%.
So
He did get one? Okay.
He got one.
That's
awesome.
good.
So there are a couple backup branches on the way, so it's not a huge deal, but getting a little bit of favorable RNG never hurts at the beginning of the run. As we'll see Gymnast heading to his cog skip setup, which might be a little bit different from what you saw from RedSlay. Clean first try from Gymnast as well.
That trick is like surprisingly, it does look quite easy, and once you get like the feeling for it, it's not insanely difficult, but I would say it's probably the hardest trick in the run to get like 100% consistent. Like no runner out there is 100% consistent with that trick. Many people, every runner still loses runs to that trick, no matter what, no matter how good you are.
Looks like RedSlay going for a wing flip here. Unfortunately, misses the timing on the second wing drop, so he'll have to skip over doing early ascend. No big deal.
Yeah, which is fine. Pretty much no time loss.
Right, and he can also, if he chooses here, remove the rest of the RNG from tree branches and just grab a couple backups. Looks like he's opting to head straight to the per pad construct instead.
Yeah, unfortunately, because the way he failed the wing flip, he did get the FTC, so he's still at full hearts right now. There's a way you can fail the wing flip where you get hit by the wing and take 1 heart of damage, and that can lose a lot more time because you need to get some way to heal. You need to go pick up like spicy peppers later on to heal so you don't die of cold in the mountains. But fortunately, he does have full health, so he won't have to worry about that.
Very fortunate for RedSlay indeed.
I'm curious, I don't think RedSlay gets the Temple of Time shield, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I don't quite recall either, but we'll see. And especially if he's not doing early ascend, he might not go for it. Well, another thing here to discuss the rules, as you can see, the Golden Devil gratefully pinned for us in chat. Both runners are allowed to use Amiibo, so we'll be interested to see here if either of them are going to be scanning for Fleet Lotus Seeds or, God forbid, the Daruk Topaz.
A first try Daruk could be some good time save for Gymnast, though.
For sure, for sure.
But yeah, I don't think either runner will be pulling out the Daruk today, but I am pretty sure that RedSlay and Gymnast should both be going for speed food. I know RedSlay does speed food in his PB and Gymnast as well, so I imagine we'll both be seeing both runners do that.
Right, and the drop rate from Fleet Lotus being much more favorable than if you were trying to get a gem. But that being the case, it looks like RedSlay is going to skip over the Temple of Time shield, which is a faster option, especially for early ascend, because you can get some nice shield surfs in where you wouldn't be able to otherwise with just a flame emitter shield. And that means he'll probably be picking up his second shield on the other side of Pond Side Cave, where you would normally cook the speed food. So it looks like we can probably expect that from him. And if you'll notice, RedSlay placing down extra wings there, playing a little game of the floor is lava to avoid resetting Link's respawn coordinates. So as he voids out, he can respawn right back up by the per pad for a quick flight over to Bottomless Cave. As you can see, the Ascend Shrine in the top corner of his screen.
That is definitely the nicest optimization, probably of the entirety of GSI, just because before what we had to do when we couldn't wrong warp back up there and get a nice wing to this cave, we'd have to run all the way around, you get some cold resist food, and take about like an extra 3 or 4 minutes to get to Ascend.
The peppers, ride the raft, climb the cliff, climb the waterfall.
Yeah, nobody misses that route.
RedSlay also picking up some bomb flowers here in Bottomless Cave. This is another very crucial item in the run. As is usually par for the course for any percent, you want to avoid picking up as little stuff as possible. So anything that you see either of our runners grabbing is absolutely crucial to the run. Nothing superfluous here, unless I might accidentally grab something by mistake.
Maybe grab a fire fruit, perhaps, like one world record holder.
A fire fruit here and there never hurts. Maybe a cricket, maybe a piece of flint.
Yeah, for good luck.
Never killed anybody.
Lucky cricket. I see someone saying in the chat, what if one of these runners do intro skip? They have decided beforehand that intro clip is allowed, so they will both be starting from new game. Even if one decides to not go for intro clip at all, they still have to run through the intro normally.
Exactly. As you can see, RedSlay with some very good stamina management, climbing up those routes and making his way to our first shrine out of the only 4 we will be seeing in this route, which is the Ascend Shrine, the first of the 4 abilities crucial that are core to the game we will be picking up on GSI.
Yeah, it's important that we go to this shrine first because it's the highest shrine on the map, so going to it last would be a lot harder because we'd have to climb all the way up. So getting this one out of the way first and then being able to wing pretty much anywhere on GSI afterwards is very beneficial for us.
Indeed. Our Tears of the Kingdom scientists have gone through so many different crazy route ideas involving different shrine orders. Ultra Hand first, Fuse first. Sadly, there's no recall first as far as
one day maybe it will clip inside somehow.
Maybe one day the Fuse first meme will come true, but you just really can't get over the fact that if you start with any other shrine, like Sirius said, you've got to go through that such high elevation change to get to Ascend. It's just very inconvenient.
Yeah, unless we one day find a way to dupe the Lights of Blessings or something, we're gonna have
to. That would be crazy. My dream Christmas wish for this game is to get a glitch that allows us to transfer hearts and stamina from the intro. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, that would be... Oh yeah, that's something that... I mean, it seems doable because of how many things we could transfer through saves in this game. It doesn't seem crazy that we could transfer the hearts, but just nothing like that has been found yet.
Exactly.
But there's always a hope.
Well, more accurately, maybe a cope at this point, but we'll see. I never say that. The second you say that something is never going to be possible in a speedrun, prepare to be proven wrong.
Yeah, crazier things have been found.
As we can see, Gymnast making his way into the Ascend Shrine, as RedSlay is just about to finish. And you saw there he grabbed the bow from the construct, a little bit of highway robbery there, because that is another useful item that we will see for our Zuggle setup for Arrow Smuggle in just a bit here.
And importantly, you will not be seeing Gymnast get that bow because he does not do the ZOAS that RedSlay will be doing, opting for a more consistent, older route with a wing shield. So instead, Gymnast will just be running through this shrine casually, as intended. There's no really way to speed up this shrine with what we have. And also, unfortunately, you'll see RedSlay not able to skip this cutscene either. There's a couple unskippable cutscenes in this game, unfortunately. This one's around a minute long. Nothing you could do about it. You just have to sit here and wait for Link to look at his arm for a little bit and get the Light of Blessing.
I mean, hey, the devs spent how many years on this game? They want everyone to see the hard work they put into all these beautiful cutscenes.
Oh, yeah. And they are beautiful. You really start to appreciate them on the 500th time.
That's a great attitude to have for sure. You could tell the series runs any percent quite a lot just from that comment.
I actually never did intro skip. I was like gone for the month that intro skip was viable before intro clip was found. So I left before intro skip was allowed, and then I came back when intro clip was found. So I've never once done intro skip.
Hey, nothing wrong with some 4-minute unskippable cutscene here and there.
Yeah.
As an all main quests runner, I can appreciate a good cutscene when I see one.
Oh yeah, I mean, every category in this game suffers from unskippable cutscenes and long dialogue.
So we'll see RedSlay starting to scan the amiibo here. It looks like third try, and it looks like he is going for gem as well. Is that what I see?
That's actually true. Is that a Daruk amiibo? Maybe just one, just cause.
It looked like it. Maybe
just
one.
Rage first try.
Stranger things have been done, and you'll see him performing a quick dupe here. A very famous glitch that was discovered very early on in Tears of the Kingdom lifecycle, where if you open the inventory and hold an item and then press B to exit the menu and Y to sort the inventory on the same frame, you'll actually duplicate the item. So a couple frame perfect tricks there from RedSlay to duplicate bombs and Fleet Lotus that he will be cooking and using later on. As he flies down to Pondside Cave, take a little damage there, should be okay unless he accidentally gets hit by a Keys later on or something.
Yeah.
One thing here you will notice is both runners obtaining the energy cell. It is a key item in the game. We actually don't need the battery for anything at all in the speedrun. However, unfortunately, the game, if you don't get it earlier on, the game forces you to grab it in an incredibly long, almost 30-second long, unskippable cutscene. So grabbing it from the construct here instead, while it's already on the way, just saves that much more time.
And these keys can be quite scary, like, especially when you go to like pick up items here as he's duping in this cave. These keys can get you, and he's on 1 heart, so 1 key hit will kill him. See, that attack nearly hit him.
Runs can die in all sorts of ways that you may not expect. As Gymnast takes a few scans to grab his Lotus Seeds, he'll be performing the exact same dupe glitch. Unfortunately, he lost one of his bombs there.
Speaking of duping on this wing, it is very scary to dupe bombs on this wing. I think like you were about to say, on version 1.0, bombs blow up very easily on these wings. And missing a dupe there, so he's not getting as many Fleet Lotus Seeds duped as he would like to be on this wing.
And not to mention, duping on the wing here is a pretty nice optimization, because if you dupe while you're standing still, you're losing all that time. But if you're on the wing, you're basically only losing the time you spend in the menu. You'll see Gymnast performing a fall damage cancel here. Very quick, as he was a bit too high up for missing those dupes. Also grabbing the energy cell.
Yeah, you can definitely see RedSlay still holding on to his lead pretty strong here. Hasn't really lost any time to Gymnast since the intro. He will be losing a little bit of time to a setup here for the Zuggle Overload Arrow Smuggle, but he will make up all that time with the arrow flying that he'll be doing afterwards.
For sure. I think now's probably a great time to get into discussing about arrow smuggle flight and what that all means. It's a very interesting glitch whereby overloading the game just past a certain point, you can cause Link's bow to enter a state we call smuggle, where basically it'll be equipped and held in his hand, but the bow will be invisible, which allows him to perform very quick inputs of drawing the bow and canceling with the jump attack in rapid metered succession to actually maintain an infinite height state. And when combined with a perfect angle of horizontal and vertical momentum, we'll be able to see some interesting flight later on throughout the run from RedSlay.
I noticed Gymnast there did not pick up that second shield at the cooking pot. I wonder if maybe he'll get the Temple of Time shield later on. Or try to go for a 1 shield route, which is always a little bit sketchy with durability.
Indeed, especially with the flame emitter shield, because if you accidentally hold ZL to target too long on that thing and it starts spitting out the flames, that's a lot of durability wasted, and
it melts the durability
goes by very fast. See RedSlay going for a nice bomb trick shot here, right on the bullseye. Unfortunately, gets a bad bounce.
Yeah, aimed a little bit too high there. Normally that will fly all the way back towards like the entrance where that door he's gonna be heading to is, but virtually having to lose a bit of time there, not very much.
And we'll see RedSlay burning his arrows here as well, as he's going to perform a version of arrow smuggle known as arrowless. To perform the optimal flight, you either need to be out of arrows or out of stamina. Out of arrows is much quicker, as you are able to just do it instantly, whereas stamina you have to perform a charge attack or dash around, basically to take your wheel down. As we can see him perform the drop and re-equip menuing here, which is so lightning fast at this point, we won't even have time to fully explain everything. But
I'm curious what he did before this. Did you see him? He did 1 Zuggle, looked successfully, and then he dropped his Zuggled shields and threw his weapon, and then did it again.
I actually have not seen that setup before.
I don't know what that does. Maybe it's for like some of this temporary overload stuff that I've been seeing.
Could be. And you'll notice here from RedSlay as well, he drops his bomb shields before picking them back up, because if you try to fuse a bomb to a Zuggle shield, it will actually crash the game. So that would be a very unfortunate mistake, but Thankfully, he clears that. Also able to use our first instance of arrow flight to skip that construct cutscene that lasts about 10 seconds, so it's a pretty good time save there. As Gymnast appears to be catching up, and he will quickly make his way to the end of Fuse, foregoing all that Zuggle setup that we saw RedSlay perform. However, as Sirius mentioned before, he will be losing some time to Zuggle perfect execution.
As you'll see here, as he's going to be gaining a lot of time on his trip to Ultra Hand with an arrow flight.
Speaking of which, check out RedSlay's screen. You'll see a normalized setup here, courtesy of player 5. Precise number of side hops and shield bashes to put you in the perfect angle to launch straight to Ultra Hand Shrine. This is a very input-heavy, intensive trick that's very easy to mess up.
Yeah, it looks like he's on good pace right now to make it. Going a little bit slower.
I can't quite make out the coordinates to see if he's gaining enough height, but it looks like he should be good.
Yeah, I think he is good.
Right on the ledge.
Barely, barely.
A little bit of a nail biter. But clean execution from RedSlay heading into Ultra Hand Shrine.
Yeah, that will save. I don't know if anyone's done the timings of how much that saves over what Gymnast is attempting to do, which he actually just messed up landing on the wing there. Unfortunately, a little bit of time loss, but not too bad. He can just get another bomb and attempt that again.
While having to dupes the bombs for backup, you notice him getting a couple Ruby dupes. Just might as well, because you got 5 slots to hold, so might as well grab in a couple dupes.
A little bit of multitasking.
Gymnast route here, you'll see him performing a trick we call wing bombs, where basically you do a bomb jump off a shield at a precise angle and drop the wing at a precise time to land on another one, and you can basically chain these infinitely, only limited by your durability of your shield and how many items you have. And with his speed, he's able to do a running wing drop here under GSI. And we'll see him perform 1 or perhaps 2 more wing bombs, depending on the height he got, to ascend completely from below the shrine and pop up right in front of it.
And we see RedSlay getting an arrow flight in Ultra Hand, getting a very good angle here, going very fast. This will save a couple seconds over running through the shrine normally, and a few bombs as well.
This angle in the Ultra Hand setup here is actually very precise. If you're just a little bit off, you can completely kill your momentum, which is another very risky thing about arrow smuggle flight. With a bad launch, you can get way less speed. In this setup in Ultra Hand, for example, if you get a bad angle, you can lose up to 6 seconds, which is quite a big deal for such a short shrine.
Yeah, pretty much any angle except for the one you just saw will lose at least 6 seconds. So you really want to get that perfect angle, which fortunately RedSlay did get. And now you can really see that time save from the arrow flight as Gymnast is just entering Ultra Hand as RedSlay is leaving it, gaining a lot of time from not having to do that under GSI.
We'll see another very interesting arrow flight setup from RedSlay here, as he actually uses the angle of the wing in the jump.
Sketchy angle here. His wing plays kind of weird, but we're fine.
And that right there is a perfect definition of what Sirius was talking about earlier. The wing wasn't quite angled down far enough from what I could tell for him to get a good launch. Also was facing a little bit to the left of where he wanted to go. Thankfully, I'm sure he's backed that up many times before. He was able to land on the ledge and run back while losing time. Much better than voiding out and having to redo that section all over again.
It is very fortunate that Nintendo decided to make that little bit of a walking path around the edge of the Temple of Time there, just for us, really. Like, I don't know why anyone else would be walking around there, but it really saves me a few times if I get a bad angle off the wing.
For sure, and we can see Gymnast's more consistent strat here of just running through the shrine with the wing shield, performing a little bit of Tony Hawk Pro Skater to make it to the end of the shrine.
I'm curious to see if RedSlay will see what was posted in the Discord yesterday. There's a new strat that I just saw where you can do a double bomb jump to get to the door super fast. After talking to Raru here, and RedSlay would be the type of guy to pick up this strat immediately and do it in a race. So I'm curious if he will.
Unfortunately, he went for a ledge bomb off the altar, but the A press was a little bit late, and you can see him saving a clip there for future reference. Always learning. Love the mindset.
Yeah, RedSlay does that a lot. That is one thing about him is... That's a good backup, by the way. Just a quick arrow flight up.
A cheeky little arrow flight to cross the gap. Saves you from having to dupe another bomb, which is pretty smooth and fluid.
Yeah, what RedSlay9 was doing there was not the new strat.
Interestingly enough, with a lot of the arrow smuggle strats here, it's been known about for a long time to work in earlier versions. However, it wasn't until the release of 1.2, which had a very, very quick setup, aptly named Quick Smuggle, that arrow smuggle really became part of that route and then was later adopted into 1.0 route once the setup time for Zuggle was able to be reduced significantly enough. It used to take upwards of even 45 seconds to get overload, and now we can see runners do it in 20 or under. Here will be another difference, that quick bomb jump by RedSlay up to the tunnel. Gymnast, as he does not have bombs to use for his shield and instead opting for the wing shield, he'll have to do a shield jump over the water and then ascend, which loses, I want to say, 6 or 7 seconds over jumping with the bomb there. Another win for the bomb route.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of the biggest time saves of bombs over wing shield. Oh, Gymnast, I don't know if anyone caught that. Gymnast trying to TP after talking to Raru there. Forgot you need to go to the door first and talk to Raru again. I know, it's hard to keep up with all this Raru dialogue. Indeed. But there's one more text box that he's got to spam through before he can TP out.
Wow, as a very, very clean arrow flight setup from RedSlay inside of Recall Shrine, completely skipping the whole raft shenanigans, which personally I love.
Yeah, getting the fast cycle and recall with the wing shield is pretty annoying and can go wrong pretty easily. Which we will see Gymnast doing here in just a second as he's finished talking to Raru and now is allowed to TP out.
So the next move for RedSlay here would be to teleport back to Ultra Hand before making his way, performing that wing bomb jump a second time to the Temple of Time. However, you will notice that he does not immediately teleport. However, he will run outside of the cave. As in this game, when you try to teleport from inside a cave, you actually get drastically more loading screens for the teleport here. So it actually saves a few seconds to run outside of the cave first before attempting to teleport.
Yeah. A surprising time save, as you can see the load screen coming up pretty fast here. And that's a pretty decent load. There's variability in the loads, and as you run this game a lot, you'll just start to notice that a load is slightly slower, slightly longer. RedSlay's load there was like pretty average. Maybe about on par with TPing out immediately. And now this is a good angle here.
Time.
Yeah, this
Maybe
is
not quite
the
amount of speed you wanted, but very close to perfect. As he'll be using up the last of his bombs here to make a quick jump. And as Sirius mentioned earlier, we can see Gymnast quickly running through Recall with the wing shield while still very fast.
That's one of the things what you just saw there. He did the dive. That's one of the things about the route that Gymnast has to do there. Getting that dive animation really slows you down, and now he has to wait for these dials to line up and then recall it. If you're a little bit faster there, you can actually use Ultra Hand to kind of push the dials together, but losing a little bit of time to that dive animation.
Which, interestingly enough, among the 4 abilities that we get on GSI, that's actually the only time that you will ever see Ultra Hand in the any percent speedrun, in the current round at least. Gymnast also making his way out of the cave before attempting to teleport as RedSlay opens the door to finish off GSI. Looks like somewhere a sub 32 GSI, very respectable time.
Yeah, this is very solid.
We'll see a very cool setup here from RedSlay to angle himself off the tip of the nose of the wing.
Yeah, very fast setup as well. Angle. Trying to optimize the section before that nice simple ledge bomb was discovered was very annoying, because before we'd have to just do like a regular bomb jump arrow flight or just a regular arrow flight is quite slow. You'd lose a lot of time because normally we don't get speed food, so it's not really a fast way to get to the end there until that ledge bomb was found, which is a very nice optimization. We'll also see RedSlay.
We'll see if he can get the backup fall damage cancel. Nails it. He's attempting to
Wow,
perform.
that was amazing. That was
Crazy
a good
backer for
save.
RedSlay.
But yeah, we will see him do this backflip, which is called dive duping. There's multiple ways to dupe on this wing. The easiest is the shield jump, which you'll probably see Gymnast going for. But the way that RedSlay is doing it is a lot more consistent because all the rubies stay in one place. They don't bounce around or fall off the wing at all.
Unlike RedSlay, who falls off the wing for a second time.
But
Performing
clearly
these
knows
monster
how to
attacks.
save it, so I'm sure he'll be fine. This looks good. Yeah, good save by RedSlay there. Really scary. No longer doing the backflip, so you can see him doing the shield jump wing now. Or sorry, the shield jump dupe. And he now has enough rubies, so he's going to start his arrow flight to the castle, where he'll do a different clip spot than Gymnast, which is called balcony clip. Whereas Gymnast will be doing well clip.
Indeed, this is another very interesting divergence between the routes. This spot that you might be familiar with, the inside the well, which we will most likely be seeing Gymnast go for, was used for quite a while once the jump/cancel clips were first found. This balcony clip, however, a very interesting spot, was actually discovered quite a while ago by Zarif as a potential clip spot for the 1.1.2 any percent route, back when that was still current patch. It didn't eventually end up getting used in the speedrun until it was kind of dug up just the other week and timed out to actually be faster for this route, because if you are attempting arrowless, as we mentioned earlier, for arrow smuggle flight, there's actually a nice handy pile of arrows that you will need right there, because for arrow smuggle flight perfectly, it works fine with no arrows. However, for these clips that you will see RedSlay attempting to perform, you actually do need arrows to perform these. So in absence of having to scan Amiibo, grabbing these arrows is very convenient spot to clip. Not to mention this balcony clip spot right here is almost directly over Army. So as soon as RedSlay clips in, he can make a direct dive right down to Army, whereas Gymnast will have to do more of a slow dive for almost the entire segment, as he is quite far to the southeast of where Army actually is.
See RedSlay missing a clip there. The spot can be a little bit weird sometimes, but I think he's just not high enough on the ceiling there. Getting it second try, though, pretty fast. Still probably faster or nearly as fast as what Gymnast will be doing, because he doesn't have arrow smuggle. He has to do these manual clips, which are called JCCs, which is a lot slower because you need to do a rune menu cancel shield swap between every infinite height, whereas RedSlay can just spam jump attacks and pulling out his bow to do the infinite height jumps.
Exactly, and that's another huge advantage of the arrow smuggle flight route. The clips work in the same exact way physically within the game. However, as Sirius mentioned, the inputs are much quicker, and you don't lose any time to menuing with arrow smuggle. Looks like RedSlay, instead of opting for the ragdoll clip, will go for a little bit more of a consistent shield drop here as he makes his way through down to
this
Army.
is one of the things that I saw RedSlay recently pick up is I believe he got this from Kentiko. This is Kentiko's clip spot, which is nice because it's quite a fast setup compared to the old backup that we used to do, and it also brings you close to the Army trigger, so you can start Army earlier. Instead of making it all the way to the ground, you could kind of land on the gloom wall and trigger it earlier.
And there we just saw, as Sirius mentioned, the JCC or jump/cancel clips from Gymnast. Still very clean, although with the lost menuing time to RedSlay as he makes his way down into the depths to Army. RedSlay chucking his branch there. Accidentally grabs the boss Bokoblin Fang. He'll have to go back for that horn at some point.
Yeah, that's a classic. It's very hard to pick up the right items in the Army, even if you're like standing directly over the item you want and like looking at it. Sometimes Link will just pick up a different item, so it can be quite annoying.
Grabbing Royal Halberd, two of them, another crucial item for the run. Got the Black Lizalfos horn. If worse comes to worse, he can always just dupe that if he's not able to grab the horn. Gymnast going for the more risky, but
the OG ragdoll and getting it. That's a very good time save.
Closing the gap just a little tiny bit more between him and RedSlay.
Yeah, I'd say it's close enough now where it could still come down to Demon Dragon pretty easily.
Oh, for sure. And we're reaching the part where if you were to die here, it could be a run killer, as you would have to restart from all the way back up at Balcony Clip for RedSlay, all the way back up at the wall for Gymnast. Redo those clips, redo the dive to Army, go through all those loads. redo ragdoll clip, redo all these cutscenes.
Yeah, but fortunately, RedSlay is on Moblins, which is considered the easiest phase because they're quite slow and grouped up all close together, so you can just spam rubies at them and pretty much no danger. So getting through army without a death is very good. Definitely one of the scariest parts of a no reset race. You do not want to be dying in army because, as Cloud had said, it is major time loss, probably the biggest time loss of any like single mistake in the run.
Indeed. And we've seen that before in some of these races here. As RedSlay heads to the cliff spot, looks like he's actually going to perform his map Zuggle here. This is the same basic philosophy as the Zuggle Air Overload we saw earlier. However, using the map rune to drop these weapons, but trick the game into thinking they're still in Link's hand. So they'll basically be glued to his hand, and he'll get basically a 4 times attack buff from these halberds, and then even more once you add the fused monster card on top of it. Doing this here for convenience's sake before performing the second of the 3 round of clips.
Yeah, and I believe, considering that he's zuggling here, he'll probably be going for the arrow flight after the next clip here, which is a newer strat that was only added to most people's routes like within the last week or so. Oh, actually not going for it. He just decided to zuggle there. That's interesting. Usually if you zuggle beforehand, most people would opt to go for that arrow flight. Maybe he doesn't have a bomb, I guess.
Yeah, or since he's got speed 3, he's probably not going to lose too much time just running through the tunnel.
Yeah, that's true as well. I guess it doesn't really lose any time to zuggle where he did over anywhere else.
For sure. 30 enter Ganondorf time for RedSlay. Very clean, very good pace here from him. As Gymnast had just finished army, and you'll notice again that these clips that you see on Gymnast's stream, while equally effective and work the same way, they will be quite a bit slower because of the menuing time added from having to swap rune, open the rune menu, swap shields, pull out the bow again.
Getting that clip first try though is very good. Oh yes, both runners. You can explain the version, yeah.
Both runners are running on version 1.0, which is the first patch pre-release, I believe, of the game, which has access to most of the important glitches that are needed for the run.
And Gymnast getting 2 first try clips. Beautiful. The main time loss of the manual clips that Gymnast was doing there is when you fail it, because when you fail it, you have to wait a long time for Link's head to go down, and then you need to do another manual clip attempt, and it can add up very fast, but getting those clips instantly like he did doesn't lose too much time at all compared to the arrow smuggle.
Exactly. And you'll see Gymnast opting for a slightly different map Zuggle setup here. Unfortunately, he wasn't close enough to the wall, and he accidentally ended up dropping the halberds again, so there'll be a bit of time loss there from the menuing. But the glitch works to the same effect, and as you saw on RedSlay's screen, it completely obliterated Ganon's health bar.
Yeah, this is definitely still doable for Gymnast. RedSlay would need to make a pretty big mistake on Demon Dragon. He'd have to mess up the 2 cycle immediately, and then that'll throw him off a lot. He could either restart, or he can just try to do a casual Demon Dragon. Because nobody really has a backup, as you're going to see him attempt a 2 cycle here. If he messes up the 2 cycle in the beginning, no one really has a backup for it, because Zelda kind of just brings you to random places. It's very hard to predict where she'll drop you off, so if you mess up early on in that trick, you can lose multiple minutes easily, which is why some runners opt to just restart the fight and try to get the 2 cycle again.
Indeed. A little bit of weapon RNG in second phase from Gymnast. Sometimes the club can be a bit bothersome, but he performs a strat to get Ganon to swing the club immediately, which is the attack you want, so no time lost there for him as he heads into the third phase after another nice little unskippable cutscene.
And as someone said in the chat, we do get to see the Master Spear from RedSlay in all of its glory.
I believe the official name is the Black Boss Boko Horn Master Royal Halberd Sword that seals the darkness.
Yeah. The strongest sword in the game.
Without a doubt. And as Sirius mentioned, this what we call the 2 cycle, or the Gamer Dragon as it's affectionately known,
I'm
It's a
glad that
very
caught
tight
on.
trick, very easy to mess up. However, with Speed 3, RedSlay has a little bit of cushion in trying to make it to the next points as fast as possible. What makes this cycle so tight is you really need to get to Zelda as quick as possible to be dropped off at the perfect point to dive onto the next eye as quick as possible. And you also notice RedSlay dropping those juggle weapons from earlier, as the hitboxes can cause inconsistent damage against Demon Dragon's Eye. We only want the Master Sword to be hitting, as it receives such a huge buff that we can hit the eye in only 4 or 3 swings. As you see him fusing that extra monster part to get the last 3 of the 4 eyes in just 3 swings instead of 4 for that additional time save.
Makes it a lot easier to make the cycle. You can do it without any fuse, but it's a lot tighter for a trick that's already very tight, even if you do it. You can see an interesting thing. RedSlay wasn't immediately diving to catch Zelda. That's actually because he got to this second eye so fast that he was afraid of being too early, which is actually possible, I found. You can actually be too early to the second eye, and Zelda will drop you off in the wrong place. So he actually stalled for like a short bit.
Suffering from success right there. So he clearly makes his way down to the third eye, possibly the most difficult part of the cycle. Gets a clean launch.
Yeah, the launch is the hard part, because sometimes even if you're running out to the right side there, Ganon will just shoot you to the left, which makes it impossible to make the cycle, basically, if he shoots you to the left. So it's really scary. It may look like you're jumping out to the right, but sometimes he'll just shoot you to the left and nothing you can do. But fortunately, RedSlay getting shot out to the right and getting a perfect fourth eye here.
Just one last difficult trick in the run here. You'll see him performing these same Mazda jumps or jump/chains that we saw him from the intro sequence, coming back for one last time in the run. Basically to keep height so Zelda can pick you up at the perfect spot and drop you right off at your destination, which is the Demon Dragon's head, to get that final hit on the stone. As we can see, it works out. Zelda trolling a little bit, trying to shoot him upwards.
Yeah, she always gets in the way there. And gets the mid-air jump slash there, which I think Moist Goulash helped work out, saving 8 seconds on version 1.0, because if you're standing on the ground on version 1.0, you get an 8-second load screen after getting the last hit on Demon Dragon. But if you're mid-air, for some reason, you don't get that 8-second load screen, so we always try to find a way to be mid-air on that last hit.
Gymnast unfortunately missing the wing drop to the second eye, but a quick backup, grabbing Zelda and monster jumping over to the second eye. He won't be able to get the fast cycle anymore, but it's definitely cleaner than resetting.
Yeah, this will maybe show off what I was saying earlier, where when you mess up early on in this fight, it's very hard to back it up, as Zelda can kind of just toss you in a random spot super far away from all the eyes, making it very difficult for you to get to the eyes as fast as you want to. Gymnast jumping off early here, which is probably a good idea, allowing him to get to the next eye pretty fast.
For sure. One thing that can be kind of very annoying and jank about this fight is if Zelda's collision hits you, she just yeets you upwards into the sky. Just an incredible amount of upward momentum that can really lose a lot of time if you accidentally hit her, which we saw a little bit from Gymnast there. However, he was able to dive, unfortunately missing the second backup wing drop and having to monster jump over for Zelda to pick him up a second time.
Yeah, so again, he's stalling here, by the way, which is an interesting strat that I think not a lot of people know, is if you get on Zelda before the Demon Dragon transitions to his next location, Zelda will not know where to bring you. But I believe if you wait for Demon Dragon to start moving, then Zelda will know to bring you close to the next eye. So a little bit of AI manipulation there.
As we see RedSlay catching Zelda's hand, diving into the pond, a very strong 45-11 finish. Just outside of a top 10 time on the leaderboard. Incredible run from RedSlay, showing off all the arrow smuggle strats. First try intro clip, first try cog skip, first try 2-cycle Demon Dragon. A very, very clean run overall.
Yep, good arrow flights. Very, very clean. I think one thing that we'll maybe see later on in these races, especially if it goes to a game 3, is doing arrow flight runs back to back to back. It's a lot harder to be consistent. I think as you do more arrow flight runs, it becomes easier to mess up the fuse to ultra hand to arrow flight, because it's a long arrow flight with a lot of inputs. So your hands may get tired. On race 3, we may see RedSlay get a little bit tired and mess up one of these arrow flights. It's very possible.
Great perspective for sure. We'll see Gymnast. Maybe, I'm not sure if he was going for the backflip there, but if he was, he did not hit it. So unfortunately, he will get that extra 8-second loading screen. But that will end the fight for Demon Dragon for Gymnast as well.
I'm not sure if RedSlay ended his race a little bit late there, but his timer on his split says 45:11, but it says he finished at 46:18, so he may have forgotten to end the race on the race time GG.
Makes sense. And you might notice in RedSlay's cutscene, another interesting side effect of the Zuggle that he performed is the wooden bow is actually still attached to Link's back, when normally you're only supposed to be shirtless with the Master Sword in this cutscene.
Oh yeah.
So he's got a little bit of extra equipment there to show off to his girl.
Yes, this is
Making
game
the
one
final
luck
down.
style. So we have a guaranteed at least one more game we'll get to see, and hopefully we'll get to see a game 3 as well. I think we all want to see that.
Definitely.
When I felt something, like a warm
As we see Gymnast diving to catch Zelda as well now, with a still very, very respectable time of like around a sub 48 here, which is
for
very
sure.
good for a no reset.
Definitely, and even with the slower route compared to Aerosmuggle, he was very consistent throughout GSI, Army, the clips. His
Yeah.
only real big mistakes was the mess ups at the intro clip section at the very beginning, which put him behind.
Yeah, exactly. I think he lost nearly 2 minutes to intro alone, which would be the difference between this race being like very, very close right now. It would have come down to 2 cycle if it wasn't for the intro.
For sure. And we see a final time of 47:57, a strong showing from Gymnast.
Yeah, very clean. GG's to both of them. I believe we will be going to a little bit of a break now as the runners prepare for their next race.
That is correct. We're still figuring out the exact time for the break, but we are going to go back to the intro screen and we'll get a timer going once we know. But we'll be here with game 2 in, I would guess, starting within the next 10 minutes or so. So stay tuned, and GG's to RedSlay on game 1.